Hey everybody, it's Fight News Now Extra. I'm John Pollock, and we have all of your news coming up with Jon Ramdien and Robin Black stopping by as we chat Jorge Masvidal not really feeling Raging Al. The California State Athletic Commission catches another fighter, and George St-Pierre makes his opinions known regarding last week's PED news. George St-Pierre spoke to CTV News earlier this weekend regarding last week's drug test results for Anderson Silva and calling it sad that Silva failed the test, detecting drostanolone and androstane in his system. St-Pierre classified it as a biological weapon you go into the cage with and that the fight should have been canceled. He also noted that instead of discussing individuals, the bigger problem is the system, with the UFC and its fighters needing to confront this problem. And on that note, the California State Athletic Commission has released results that Jon Fitch failed his fight day drug test from last December when he fought Rousimar Palhares in Sacramento. Fitch's urine test came back with enough reason to use a carbon isotope ratio test, which confirmed the findings, and Fitch will now face a 9-month suspension and fine of $2,500. In California, they do not disclose what substances are discovered. And Jorge Masvidal isn't too excited for his April 4th fight with Al Iaquinta, which was recently announced. Masvidal spoke to MMAJunkie.com and stated that he wanted Donald Cerrone, but the higher-ups didn't book the fight. He stated the fight with Iaquinta is a few steps back for him. Masvidal came over from Strikeforce in 2013 and has gone 5-1 and won his last 3 fights in the lightweight division. And we look ahead to this weekend. Benson Henderson and Brandon Thatch. We will have a live preview show coming at you Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern with myself, Jon Ramdien, and Robin Black, getting you set for the prelim card, which is going to be happening right here on Fight Network. 4 big fights coming your way, including a very intriguing flyweight bout between Zach McCoskey and Tim Elliott. Nick Lentz headlining that against Levon Makashvili. And then the main card kicks off at 10 Eastern over on TSN 5, headlined by Benson Henderson, moving up to 170 pounds, taking on Brandon Thatch in your 5-round main event from Broomfield, Colorado. Here with Robin Black and Jon Ramdien, a very quiet weekend, but for those of you that stayed home on a Friday like myself and saw RFA, Terry and Ware and Joe Murphy, hell of a fight from RFA. I very much recommend people catch it if they haven't already.
I didn't.
You did not?
I did not.
Man, Jon Ramdien.
I dropped the ball.
It was the War of 1812, I understand, in Barrie all weekend long.
Buried under snow.
Let's go into this. This week's drug test belonged to Jon Fitch, coming out of the Rousimar Palhares fight all the way back in December. They don't disclose in California the substance, but there was a carbon isotope ratio test, so that likely indicates elevated levels of, or at least the use of synthetic testosterone. And I think this really goes right into the same story we have with George St-Pierre and what you said last week, Robin, that instead of going case by case here, this is a systematic issue, and it's the system that really needs to be tackled. And I think this time more than any, it's all of these cases coming at you at once, where I think people are just getting whiplash from absorbing all of this news.
Yeah, and I'm not out, thinking that anyone needs to be avoided talking about it or protected or whatever, but the fact of the matter is, Lance Armstrong, was the guy. And it was probably great for websites and great for clicks. A lot of people watched your 1-hour story when you talked to him. But ultimately, it wasn't a story about Lance Armstrong, because they couldn't even give it to the next guy till 26 down. The top 26 either had some evidence that they all doped, or enough evidence or anecdotal evidence that they're just like, everybody was using it. We're in the same boat, people. It isn't like, well, Jon Fitch used Anderson Silva's a bad man. It's the system. The system is flawed. The conversations, whether we're debating what we should and shouldn't talk about, what we need to talk about, what we need to look at is the system. The system is flawed. The system needs fixing.
And I talked about it when we had this conversation before. I'm not promoting anybody cheat, but the fact is, as Robin mentioned, the game is rigged. And in order for fighters to be successful in mixed martial arts, you have to play by the rules of this rigged game. And you can be a guy that's like, you know what, I don't want to play by those rules, so I'm not going to take steroids. Then you're going to have to leave mixed martial arts, and you're not going to get a chance to earn the type of money some of the big guys that are willing to take this stuff are going to make in mixed martial arts. But because of that, these guys have to understand that if you're taking a step in this direction, you're going to compete, again, things are lopsided. They're unfair, but that's the way it works.
It can be done. because you know when you are right at the gym level, when you're right at the gym level with fighters and coaches and stuff, you can be told certain things, you can observe certain things, but you pick up what the truth is. There's a lot more conversation about who isn't on drugs. Like the blow away it's like, yeah, would you believe this this Chris Weidman guy? He's not even on drugs. Like people will talk like that, or they'll be like, did you see how far Kenny Florian got? Guy didn't even use drugs. Or Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping is one of these guys who's got to top 10, and he's not even a juicer. The conversation now is who isn't using it. The weird observations are, wow, Michael Bisping and Chris Weidman can be great without juice. That's how much it's being used. So we have to fix that.
Who does this mainly fall on when you come to making giant sweeping changes to this system? I mean, is it incumbent on the UFC as the industry leader? Is it the commissions that are sent out to do this kind of thing?
I mean, the UFC said they wanted to get themselves involved in this, and then they're like, no, this is just too much of a headache. It should be on the commission. But again, they're not even going to do what they need to do because it's expensive.
It's like it's like everything. It's money. The UFC, their first feeling, I mean, you hate to say this, but this is true of every single business that you deal with. If you buy Apple products, if you shop at a certain grocery store, decisions are made on what makes the bottom line better. And when you look at it, you're like, the UFC's first thought might be, we need to clean this up. What can we do to clean this up? We need to do testing. Well, we'll do X testing. It will cost us this. That's so high right now at a competitive time, it may not be worthwhile for us. Plus, once everybody's caught, that's going to open up a whole new hundreds of millions of dollars of expenditure that we just can't do.
It's an issue too, Robin, of long-term, short-term. Short-term, this could have cost them UFC 183, $4.5 million gate, massive pay-per-view. Canceling that event is a giant hit to them. You look long-term, though. Long-term, I look at this when the Fox deal is up, and we're suddenly looking at this as a pattern. When we're looking at sponsorships, it's, to me, the immediate hit could be drastic of continually doing out-of-competition testing. If you get to a stage where we can at least eradicate a percentage of this, you're never going to get rid of all of it, you are not going to have this image that could very much taint where the UFC's placement is on the sports menu for the real big blue chip sponsors out there and TV deals. So
I agree with you, but
it's a big topic to tackle, but I think it's one that getting rid of out-of-competition testing is a horrible idea.
To convince them to do it, you have to be able to lay out the future metrics for somebody and say, in 10 years, you will make way more money if you do it now, and that's really hard to do.
All right, great discussion, guys. We have more of Fight News Now Extra coming up, so sit back and check it all out.